Hey everybody, so today is, this is King Brian by the way, it's so sweet. Today is the 11th of November, and those of you who know, I have a relationship, a beautiful and magical relationship with the number 1111, as many hundreds of thousands or millions of people do on the planet, it would seem, from what I read on the internet. And part of my 1111 story is what happened to me this time last year. So this time last year there were no children in my care here in the children's home. There was a house here, but there were no children living there. We had the fund, we were supporting children in the community. Sorry, there's a truck going past. We were supporting children in the community, and we had none in my care. The first child to come into my care physically was Dominic in January. So what I did have in my care were lots and lots of dogs. And a very dear friend of mine taught me a saying that God doesn't choose the qualified, he qualifies the chosen. And I think perhaps my having the dogs was my learning and qualifying to have the children here as well, because there were a lot of sleepless nights sitting up with dogs trying to feed them, and there was a lot of heartbreak as different puppies died because they were too weak, and I've lost count how many puppies we've lost, but it set me in good stead emotionally and physically for the sleepless nights and for the emotional hardship that you face when dealing with those in need or those that are sick, be they four-legged or two. But this time last year we had another problem, and that problem was a human problem. So some men in the village, we got word, were wanting to get me off the land. They wanted to try and make a claim on the land to sell it, and they wanted rid of the white man to do it. So they came to do this, and I refused. I sent all my Tanzanian staff home because I was pretty sure that nothing would happen to a white person. But I sent the staff home so they didn't try to defend me and get into trouble. So I stood alone and I faced them coming. And it turned out there was a ringleader, and the other people had just followed blindly what he was saying. He'd lied. And this ringleader took the hump, and we got word that they were planning on poisoning the dogs. So I called my friends at the Maasai, and they sent some Maasai warriors to sleep on the land to protect the dogs. And one of those warriors is still with me today, Roger, as the handler for the dogs, because he loved the dogs. He was cuddling them, hugging them all the time. So the two Maasai warriors did sleep with the dogs on the land, and sure enough, in the middle of the night, a group of men did come, and they were met by two Maasai warriors wielding machetes, and they chased them down the hill. And I wish I'd seen it, because I'm sure they got the shock of their lives, because there's not normally Maasai in this area, certainly not traditional warriors like these guys were. So they chased them, and they chased them off the land, and away they went, and they never returned. But we still had the fear and the problem that it would happen, because poisoning the dogs was going to be, I think their plan was to do it. That was their way of scaring me into leaving, or upsetting me into leaving, if you like. So the problem was we didn't even have a fence around the land, so I had to have security outside, because everything was exposed. There was no way to keep people out, and at the same time there was no way to keep the dogs in. And our dogs are not normal dogs. They've lived in the wild, some of them. They are pack hunters, and this is evident. We've seen them escape as a pack and start hunting goats. We've watched this and we've had to stop it. One of my dogs, the first dog I ever rescued here, Bruno, was a German Shepherd, actually killed a goat. He brought a goat down and he killed it. They are semi-wild dogs. Not now, they've had a few years with me, they're very much not, but they were. You know, you can't take that out of them. So we were having trouble keeping people out, unwanted guests, and dogs in as well. And I meditated and I prayed on this, and I didn't have the money to build a fence. And I thought about all the different cheap local options I could go through, and there was nothing I could do. On the 11th of November, this time last year, I had a Skype call randomly with a lady I'd never met in my life, and her name is Phyllis. And I wonder if I'll share this video so Phyllis can watch it actually. And after 5 minutes of this Skype call, or 10 minutes, Phyllis said, okay, tomorrow morning I'll put the money in your bank account so you can build the fence around your land. And Phyllis was an answered prayer. She was an answer to a prayer, and this is why I have such faith in the combination of humanity and God, because God answers prayers with humanity. You have to understand that. This is how it works sometimes. He will answer a prayer with a human heart. She will answer a prayer with a human heart. I don't see God as male or female. So it's just hard, I often say he. But God will answer prayers with humans, and human hearts, and human love. And Phyllis was the human heart that he chose to move to help us at that time, this time last year. And for all my weeks of praying and meditating, he manifested that conversation and that donation on the 11th of November. He brought it to me on my 11/11. So today is my 11/11, and the piece of news that I've had today, which is new, is that the first other person who is from the West will be working full-time on the project and has started working today, and that's Fritzy, who you met in the other videos. That is the first other Western person to work full-time and help me, and I need that, and I've needed that all year, and I've prayed and meditated for months on the fact that I need someone who's willing to do that, and Fritzy is that person. So I don't know what else the day entails, but it's already a little bit magical because of that, and I've got the memory of last year. And I've also just had a phone call to tell me that little Monica is going to be discharged from hospital today. So, I mean, that's not an 11/11 thing, that's just good news on a normal day. But Monica's coming home, so she's out of the woods, her blood transfusion worked, and she has her strength back. So this is how the rescue shelter was born, and this is how God never chose the qualified, he qualified the chosen. I believe he qualified me for what I do now by having me care for his other children, because he cares about them all just as much. I've seen God work to help the dogs, I've seen God work to help the children. So, and here we stand now today with 6 special needs children and 2 very cheeky young men in my care. So they've started calling me Baba Watoto instead of Baba Wanyama in the village, which is father to the children instead of father to the animals. But I get both names anyway. So I'm going to get off and play with this young man because he's in quarantine by himself, so he's a little bit depressed, bless him. But not long to serve now, and then he's free from quarantine. I can put him with the other pups. So that's a little addition to my 11/11 story. So have a good 11/11 everyone.